Hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to be with you on this magnificent day. It's the 1111 portal. Can you feel the magic? It's everywhere. This is such an extraordinary day when we can step into an expanded state of consciousness with such ease. It's a time where we lift the veils and move through everything with purposeful intention. We're invited to embody deeper wisdom that has been just beyond our grasp for so long, and to unlock and call forward all of our dormant cosmic gifts that we've been holding deep within us, ready to emerge. Well, this is the time. They're coming forward. This portal opens today, this magical, magnificent portal of light. As it opens, it's a catalyst for transformation. It's a time to awaken our soul's purpose and integrate the knowing that we have carried throughout the cosmos. Most all of the time, we're here to reside in magic. So let's remember that. Reside in that magical field where everything around us is absolutely beautiful. Everything around us is the creation of the wonder that we are. And go back in and start to remember who we are as we step through this portal. We step through it with such a divine intention that it awakens us. It opens our heart. It opens every part of our being so that it floods in with who we truly are. But I'm going to tell you a story about the very first 1111. And I know I've read that different people have talked about the beginning of this particular information about this portal, but I'll tell you my story. 33 years ago, 33 years ago, people from around the earth gathered in sacred locations all around Gaia to align with this magnificent being, this magnificent earth, and activate the dormant crystalline grid that lies within her body. Many heard this call that went out across the ethers to gather in these sacred places. This was the beginning of the 1111 in 1992, 33 years ago. And at that time, I was living in Mexico. I'd been there for a number of years, and during that time, I'd been studying many magical things. I'd studied with healers and curanderas, um, people who had taught me so much that I never even knew was available. But I also studied with a wonderful, special group of people. We studied the mystical Kabbalah, the Keys of Enoch, and many other esoteric work. At that time, in 1992, I didn't have a computer. There wasn't even Wi-Fi on the island where I lived. So it was like getting information regarding the things that we look at every day and have access to was just not easy. It wasn't even available. But one day I had gone to the beach and I happened upon a small group of people, Americans, who had come there, um, and they had been in Chichén Itzá, which, if you're familiar with that, is one of the wonders of the Mesoamerican world in the Yucatan. Magnificent. They'd been there on a meditation group, leading a meditation group, and they were saying, as I was floating around out in the water, I heard them saying some different things. And so I just swam over to them and I said, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "Oh, well, it's the 1111 that's coming." And I went, "What?" And they told me all about it. They gave me information that I could not have had access to any other way. It was amazing, the fact that they were there. But I found out that there was an event that was really a beckoning. It was calling me so strongly, this 1111 that they talked about, that I studied all about it as much as I possibly could. I found out what I could about it and then talked to the people that were in this group of mine that I was studying with. And we made the commitment to go to Chichén Itzá, to be there in this sacred place where the grid lines are really active. The sacred grids are really, really alive, and as they were then during that period of time. It was truly amazing. We decided to go so that we could be part of this awakening and this activation of the crystalline grids. It was going to spread across the earth, and there were many, according to these people that I met, that were coming from everywhere to sacred places where they could do grid work, where they could go into meditation, do mantras, do sacred work of all kinds to actually begin to activate these so that they could become alive. These crystalline grids could start to breathe and create magic the way they had been intended to do before they were shut down. So we made the decision in this little group that we were going to go to Chichén Itzá for this event. We rented a bus and we got on this bus for this sacred adventure. As we were driving across the Yucatan, heading toward this wonderful planned meditation at the pyramid of Kukulcán, of Quetzalcoatl, known as Kukulcán in Maya lore, on this trip across the border, or across the Yucatan, I looked out the window of the bus and I saw that the sky was the most brilliant blue that I think I could ever have remembered. It had been years that I'd lived there, and I don't remember ever seeing it quite this brilliant. It was like it was sparkling. The sky was alive. I'd never seen it like this before, but it was just magical. It was cloudless, but there was something shimmering in the sky. It was just such an extraordinary experience to look out and see the sky actually breathing, is what I felt. And I remember closing my eyes for a moment, just taking in all the beauty that was all around me out the window of this crackly little old bus that was heading across the Yucatan. All of a sudden, I opened my eyes, and in an instant, this massive cloud had appeared. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the photographs of Mount Shasta, where there's this huge cloud that looks like it's just floating down and has landed and is just kind of balancing on the top of the mountain. Well, that's what type of cloud this was. It was long, it was rounded at the top, and it just seemed like it was waving. It was absolutely magnificent, but it was brilliant. And then I saw flashes of light coming out of it. It was within it wasn't coming from it like lightning, but it was within the cloud. And this massive cloud was just having these sparks of these flashes of light that were contained within the cloud. And they grew larger and larger, and it was amazing. It was magical. I actually said to the person sitting next to me on the bus, "Look at that." And they just went, "Oh my gosh, that is truly amazing." So we watched this cloud for the longest time. It never changed. It never moved in the sky. But these flashes, these brilliant sparks of light, were like inside of the cloud, just kind of flashing at each other. I kind of think I knew what it was, but I wasn't going to say at the time. It was interesting. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It was magical. But everything about it was truly astounding. It was a signal. I felt that there were beings of light who knew we were coming. We were there for Mother Earth. We were there for Gaia, and they were aware of it. And it was some kind of a signaling to us that they knew we were on the way. We were there. We'd heard the call. We had been drawn to this sacred place. So we arrived the next morning at the site, and we walked on. We were there very early, earlier than anyone else. There was no one there at the site. We walked into the place. And as we kind of got closer and closer and closer to the pyramid, everyone just went silent. It was quiet. It was like it was a sacred experience that we were all going through. We felt something different. The air was different. Everything about the whole atmosphere was so unique and so magical that we weren't quite aware of what was happening, but everyone was quiet. So we stopped right in front at the plaza, which is the ground that's right in front of the pyramid. And this was back in the day, I might add, when you could actually climb to the top of the pyramid. You're not allowed to do that any longer. But we all stopped. We gathered together in a circle and we asked permission of the elementals that were surrounding us. We also asked the protectors of that site of the pyramid for the blessing before we began to ascend and walk up the steps. And as we began to walk, it was a reverence that we all held within us as we moved up the 91 steps on the front side of the pyramid. I'll just add that there are 91 steps on each side of the 4 sides of the pyramid, plus the step on the top. They all add up to 365 steps. Amazing for something that old. That goes to show us that the Mayans were attuned, tremendously attuned to what was happening on the earth. So we began to walk up there. And when we reached the top, we gathered inside this stone, we called it a temple. It was a building on the top of the flat pyramid. It was a step pyramid. And as you walk to the top, it's flat. And there's a building there where different kinds of ceremonies took place when it was in its heyday, when it was really active. We stopped there for just a moment in silence. The feeling was mystical. It was sacred. It was otherworldly. And then we'd been called there to actually to present prayers, sing mantras, to open our hearts and align with Mother Gaia as her crystalline grid began to light up and create a web of light across the earth. That was our purpose. That's why we were there. It was as though we'd been invited to participate in a birthing process as Gaia sent out this message into the cosmos that she was ready to begin her ascension process. That's how it felt. So we gathered in 2 circles inside, and one within another. And there was a young man who was the son of one of the members of our group that I had not met before, but he actually became a sentry, an energetic guardian, facing away from the circle, but looking out the doorway at the back of this temple that was at the top, looking out over the jungle. He was there to hold space and be a guardian, an energetic guardian for the work that we were to do. He was directly across from me with his back to me as we began the work. This work that went on for over 3 hours of mantras and prayers. The energy was sublime. It was mystical. At one point, we had been working with these sacred Hebrew mantras for so long that I began to feel my body start to buzz. The energy was intense, and it started to buzz, and I actually felt as though I was lifting off the stone floor that I was standing on. It was amazing. The buzzing grew louder and grew more intense. And at that point, I partially opened my eyes. And this young man, the sentry, who was back to me, facing out towards the jungle, standing guard over the energy of this whole event that was taking place. And I partially opened my eyes, and what I saw was truly astounding. He had transformed into what was approximately 10 feet high. He was wearing a shimmering golden cloak, a cape with a tall collar on the back, on the neck of it. And there were symbols that were blazing fire letters of iridescent golden blue light that were glowing from this collar that he had around his neck. His head had actually transformed into a tall oval with a soft rounded point at the top. And his skin, he had no hair, and his skin was glowing silver. It was a shimmering silverish gold, actually. Truly astounding what I was observing with my eyes open, partially. I closed my eyes again, and the whole interior of that building lit up at the top of the pyramid. It just was like a burst of light. I could see it with my eyes closed. As I opened my eyes, it was everywhere. There was this golden light that had filled that entire building. It was amazing. And when we actually stood there, I was watching this light that was all around us, and we started to see balls of light, or I did start to see balls of light that were more than orbs. They were big balls of light that were like sapphire blue and emerald green, and they were flying all around this. It was truly astounding. What was happening energetically in that place was a direct response to the work that we had done, to the mantras that we had sang, to the intention to activate and be there to align with the crystalline grid of Mother Earth. So when the prayers and the mantras came to a conclusion, I opened my eyes and everything had returned to somewhat normal. But a few minutes later, a woman appeared at the inside of the temple. She had run up the steps. She was speaking radically. I mean, just jabbering like crazy in Portuguese. Of course, I didn't understand Portuguese, nor did anyone else in the group. Most of them spoke Spanish, and it was close enough, but not quite. We wanted to know exactly what she was saying. We finally determined that all of us, there were a number of us there, all spoke English, including her, which made it really lovely for me. And when she told me that when she arrived that morning, we had already begun the mantras, we had already begun the prayers. And she said when she walked onto the site, she heard the mantras coming across the jungle as it was like echoing out through the ethers. But she was familiar with the work, and she began to run up the steps when she got to the pyramid so that she could join us. She wanted to be part of our group because she knew what we were doing. She knew the Hebrew mantras. She knew the work we were performing and creating that day. Interestingly enough, as she began to run up the steps of the pyramid so that she could join our group, she only got a third of the way up, she told us. A third of the way up. She had to turn and go back down the pyramid. She couldn't make it any further. She said, I came from Brazil. I had been called to be here. I traveled all this way to be here for this 11/11. I heard the work that you were doing, and I wanted so much to be a part of it, but I wasn't allowed to go up. She said, I tried to get further up the pyramid, but each time I was sent back down again because the pyramid was moving. It was shifting from side to side. It was like a wave, she said, that moved across and back to the point where it wasn't safe to go up any further. She said there were others who had tried to attempt to get up to the top as well. Same thing had happened just about the place where she had stopped. They were all sent back as well because the pyramid began to pulse and to wave and to move. And she said it was so strong that it was not safe to continue any longer. So the moment that we stopped, the moment that we completed all the work, she ran up there to be with us, to tell us what had happened. And it was truly astounding. What was it? Was it the sound? Was it the purpose, the intent that made it so that we were to be alone and not interrupted by others? I don't know. But we were all there for a purpose. And she was certain. She kept telling us she was certain that the work was not to be interrupted. Could very well be. But she also told us of the many others that came up to the top or tried to. And it was amazing. There were many people, she said, that attempted to get to the top to find out what these magical sounds were that were coming out and moving across the whole acreage of the of the complex there. We stepped outside after the work was done so that we could start to descend the steps. And to our great amazement, the place where we had entered 3 hours and something earlier, that had been completely still, there wasn't a soul there, was filled with thousands upon thousands of people, all dressed in white, gathered in circles, doing movement, doing dances, doing yoga, doing mantras, doing singing, everything you could imagine to honor Gaia, to honor the Mother Earth. They were doing ceremonies, all of them moving there. All of them had been hearing that call that came from, who knows, the ethers spoke to them. They traveled from different parts of the world to be there on this certain day, this very first 11/11. Now, I think it went a long time before this became popular. Some people say that it really started at the time when the Mayan calendar was supposed to end. That's when the first 11/11, but no, it was much, much further back than that. And I also talked to a friend later, many, many years later, who told me that she was in the Pyramid of Giza on that very day, 33 years ago today, or not today, but 33 years ago, at the first 11/11. She had been called to be in Egypt. Interestingly enough, we discovered that the pyramids in Egypt, the pyramid in Chichén Itzá, are on exactly the same longitudinal line. Interesting. The crystalline grid is something. It's amazing. It's awakening. Mother Earth is beginning to breathe. And it's all happening today. We've heard the call. We're here. All of us are doing prayers, maybe mantras, maybe other sacred work, but we are here aligned with our beloved Gaia for this special, special time. So let's just for a moment, just close our eyes. I thought I'd share that story. It still to this day is amazing that the pyramid was moving. It was swaying. It was buzzing. Something was happening. She was responding to the work that was being done across the world, not just with our small group, but across the planet. Those grids were lighting up, just as they are now, more so than ever. So whatever you do, focus on where you are. It doesn't have to be one of the great sacred sites of the planet. Where you stand is sacred. And send that love into our Mother Earth. So let's just take a deep breath. Just breathe in. A deep breath. Hold it and exhale. Breathe in again. See that light moving through your body, awakening parts of you on this sacred day. You've heard the call. You're here. Or you're in the presence of many, many people across this planet who are calling you to step forward, be a part of this awakening within yourself and within Gaia. So as you do that, open your hearts. Stand here and just feel the light move through you. You're in the center, in the very center, the null point, the 0 point of all creation. Wherever you are at this moment is what you're receiving. Whatever you're resonating with is what you're receiving into your present moment. Whatever you're giving out with love and respect and honor to other people, to our beloved Earth, to all that are around you, it's what you're receiving back. a movement. It's a wave of light. Begin to do this every day, not just today. Make this perhaps the beginning of a ceremony that you do for a few moments every day, where you breathe in this magnificent light, but breathe it back out. Send love out into nature. See the trees shimmering. See the water glimmering, filled with light, filled with the love that you have sent, along with all the other beings just like us. We're sending this magnificent flow of beauty and wonder to each other and to our beloved Mother Earth, our Gaia, who is ascending, who's moving into this realm of magic. Fill yourself with that every day. Just take a few moments. If you awaken in the morning and you can take in a few deep breaths, just breathe in the grand awareness that you are here at this magnificent time where we're to create all the beauty, all the wonder, all the blessings for everyone and everything that is around us. And the more we breathe out love, the more it comes back in a wave to us, heals us, fills us with light. Breathe it back out again. Have it descend upon all the people that you know, every person you know. Go back in and find if there's a healing that needs to take place between you and another, and just breathe light into them. Breathe love into them. Forgive yourself, forgive others. Just live in the beauty of love. And as you do that, you're going to start hearing those callings that are coming to you from the universe, from the cosmic wave, from the love that is within all. That's where we resonate. That's where we reside. That's what we send out in every moment. So breathe it in and just look around you with new eyes and see this earth shimmering in this light. See the humans, the beings that are all around you, that are kind of walking aimlessly. Send them love so that perhaps they can awaken into this magnificent feeling that we carry within us. Look at all the animals, your pets, all the little birds, everything that you see, just send it love. We're all here on this earth at this time to create beauty and wonder, magic and miracles. So on this 11/11, I invite you to just open your heart. Every moment, breathe in love, breathe out love. Just breathe it in and breathe it out and expand it out into this entire universe so that we connect with all beings who are centered in love. And watch, observe all around you at every moment where that might be needed more, where love might be needed. Breathe it into it. Breathe it into that space, into that person, into that situation. Just breathe in love. And our world will become the magnificent, magnificent wonder that it is. So it's in much gratitude that I speak with you today, invite you to be part of this wondrous portal, this gateway of light. And we hope that you'll join us again soon. Many blessings. And so it is.